soon gained a reputation to rival Plato's academy.
The kings of Alexandria were prepared to invest in the arts, in culture, in technology, mathematics, grammar, because patronage for cultural pursuits was one way of showing that you were a more prestigious ruler and had a better entitlement to greatness.
The old library and its precious contents were destroyed when the Muslims conquered Egypt in the 7th century. But its spirit is alive in a new building. Today, the library remains a place of discovery and scholarship.
Mathematicians and philosophers flocked to Alexandria, driven by their thirst for knowledge and the pursuit of excellence. The patrons of the library were the first professional scientists, individuals who were paid for their devotion to research. But of all those early pioneers, my hero is the enigmatic Greek mathematician Euclid.
We know very little about Euclid's life, but his greatest achievements were as a chronicler of mathematics. Around 300 BC, he wrote the most important textbook of all time, the Elements. In the Elements, we find the culmination of the mathematical revolution which had taken place in Greece. It's built on a series of mathematical assumptions called axioms. For example, a line can be drawn between any 2 points. From these axioms, logical deductions are made and mathematical theorems established. The Elements contains formulas for calculating the volumes of cones and cylinders, proofs about geometric series, perfect numbers and primes. The climax of the Elements is a proof that there are only 5 Platonic solids.
For me, this last theorem captures the power of mathematics. It's one thing to build 5 symmetrical solids, quite another to come up with a watertight, logical argument for why there can't be a 6th. The Elements unfolds like a wonderful, logical mystery novel. But this is a story which transcends time. Scientific theories get knocked down from one generation to the next. But the theorems in the Elements are as true today as they were 2,000 years ago.
When you stop and think about it, it's really amazing that it's the same theorems that we teach. We may teach them in a slightly different way, or we may organize them differently, but it's Euclidean geometry that is still valid, and even in higher mathematics. When you go to higher dimensional spaces, you're still using Euclidean geometry.
Alexandria must have been an inspiring place for the ancient scholars, and Euclid's fame would have attracted even more eager young intellectuals to the Egyptian port. One mathematician who particularly enjoyed the intellectual environment in Alexandria was Archimedes.
He would become a mathematical visionary.
The best Greek mathematicians, they were always pushing the limits, pushing the envelope. So Archimedes did what he could with polygons, with solids. He then moved on to centers of gravity, or he then moved on to the spiral. This instinct to try and mathematize everything is something that I see as a legacy.
One of Archimedes' specialities was weapons of mass destruction. They were used against the Romans when they invaded his home of Syracuse in 212 BC. He also designed mirrors which harnessed the power of the sun to set the Roman ships on fire. But to Archimedes, these endeavours were mere amusements in geometry. He had loftier ambitions.
Archimedes was enraptured by pure mathematics and believed in studying mathematics for its own sake, and not for the ignoble trade of engineering or the sordid quest for profit.
One of his finest investigations into pure mathematics was to produce formulas to calculate the areas of regular shapes.
Archimedes' method was to capture new shapes by using shapes he already understood. So, for example, to calculate the area of a circle, he would enclose it inside a triangle. And then by doubling the number of sides on the triangle, the enclosing shape would get closer and closer to the circle. Indeed, we sometimes call a circle a polygon with an infinite number of sides. But by estimating the area of the circle, Archimedes is in fact getting a value for pi, the most important number in mathematics.
However, it was calculating the volumes of solid objects where Archimedes excelled. He found a way to calculate the volume of a sphere by slicing it up and approximating each slice as a cylinder. He then added up the volumes of the slices to get an approximate value for the sphere. But his act of genius was to see what happens if you make the slices thinner and thinner. In the limit, the approximation becomes an exact calculation. But it was Archimedes' commitment to mathematics that will be his undoing.
Archimedes was contemplating a problem about circles traced in the sand when a Roman soldier accosted him. Archimedes was so engrossed in his problem that he insisted he'd be allowed to finish his theorem. But the Roman soldier was not interested in Archimedes' problem and killed him on the spot. Even in death, Archimedes' devotion to mathematics was unwavering.
By the middle of the 1st century BC, the Romans had tightened their grip on the old Greek Empire. They were less smitten with the beauty of mathematics and were more concerned with its practical applications. This pragmatic attitude signaled for the